Hello and welcome inside of the 3304 Sports Kickoff Show. I'm Kevin DiDomenico alongside of Drew Robertson as Virginia Tech on Saturday travels to Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Panthers. And Drew, both teams started hot. Virginia Tech, a top 20 team. Pitt started 3-0. Now a battle of two 4-4 teams on Saturday.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't think that either of these teams thought that they would be in the situation that they're in right now. Specifically, Pittsburgh. I mean, they had to deal with the COVID precautions, sitting out last week against Georgia Tech, having to reschedule that game, going into this week, not even starting practice until Tuesday, which makes it a short week for them in most ways that you look at it. So I think that it's a very stressful week for Pitt going forward, and there's a lot of uncertainty on both sides, not just for Pitt, but for Virginia Tech as well. So I think we're going to have a fun one.
Absolutely. One thing that hasn't been uncertain is Pitt's defense. They're 4-4, but that defense has played super well.
Yeah, the defense has really been lights out and wreaked havoc all year long. And it's because of that defensive front, Kevin. I think that the defensive front has really done a great job. They rank second nationally in rushing yards allowed per game, and that is 78.75 yards allowed per game for that Pitt defense. And that's a full team statistic, but I think that the defensive front controlling the line of scrimmage has been a really big part for Pitt's success on the defensive side of the football this year.
Yeah, well, one thing that's been an issue for defenses all season is the Virginia Tech offense. Obviously, last week, Khalil Herbert limited. They missed James Mitchell. And that could be an issue going forward if those guys don't return.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stress that Virginia Tech has gotten has been because Hendon Hooker has been under stress without many options to go to in the last couple of weeks. You mentioned Khalil Herbert not being in full effect last week. Virginia Tech's going to look to incorporate him hopefully back into a full range of motion for them in their offense this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Hendon Hooker carried the ball 21 times versus Miami on Saturday. Well, Virginia Tech travels up to Pitt. They're looking for their second win since 1999. And a bit of a program-defining game coming up on Saturday. For more on the Virginia Tech program, our own Evan Hughes.
When Justin Fuente was hired as the coach of the Hokies back in 2015, one of his tasks was to restore Virginia Tech to being one of the perennial powers in the ACC. Think back to his first season in 2016. What a start he had at Virginia Tech. The Hokies won 10 games that year, won the Belk Bowl, had wins against Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina. Justin Fuente was 15-5 in his first 20 games against FBS opponents at Virginia Tech, as David Hale pointed out. However, in his last 36 tries, Fuente and the Hokies haven't had as much success. Virginia Tech 17-19 in their last 36 games against FBS opponents, including losses to Old Dominion in 2018. Last year, a 35-point home loss to Duke, and just a couple of weeks ago, lost to Liberty inside of Lane Stadium. Now, if you compare that towards the end of Coach Beamer's tenure as the coach of the Hokies, Coach Beamer was 19-17 in his last 36 games against FBS opponents. You look at the 2020 season for Virginia Tech. They're 4-4, and with 3 games left, they're in jeopardy of suffering their second losing season in the last 3 years. Guys.
Well, Kevin, we talked a lot about the state of the programs for both of these teams. Let's focus in a little bit more on Saturday's matchup. What do you think is most important for this Virginia Tech team?
You know, I think it's going to be Hendon Hooker getting the ball to his wide receivers. I think it's going to be Hooker and the wide receiver core it's going to come down to. Now, we saw last Saturday it was more Tavion Robinson and Trey Turner, but not really anyone else. And Hendon Hooker got criticized for holding on to the ball for too long against Miami late in that game. And Coach Justin Fuente said, you know, I'm not going to talk about that. You know, he played his tail off, and that's a guy who has faith in his team. But extending off of Trey Turner, off of Tavion Robinson, they've got to get other guys involved in terms of getting the ball through the air. So I think that's going to be key coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, and we really hit on that earlier. Just the stress has been on Hendon Hooker in these last couple of weeks. The options just have not been there offensively, and a lot of that pressure has fallen on to Hendon Hooker. But on the flip side of that, a lot of pressure is going to be coming from that Pitt defense, and that's my most important key for Pittsburgh to win this game, is controlling the line of scrimmage, not letting Hendon Hooker get any of his other options involved or any of this other Virginia Tech offense involved in any way is going to be so important. We already mentioned the second in the country in the rushing defense. I think that it's very important for Pittsburgh to control this line of scrimmage, but it's not the only thing. Another thing is Kenny Pickett's return into the starting lineup after injury, and that's really important for this Pittsburgh offense to become more comfortable. For more on Kenny Pickett's importance to this Pittsburgh offense, we'll throw it over to our very own Ryan Wilkes.
Senior quarterback Kenny Pickett suffered an ankle injury in Week 5 against the Boston College Eagles, causing him to miss the next 2 games. In those 2 games, Joey Yellen took over the reins as the Pittsburgh quarterback, causing the offense to sputter a little bit, having his fair share of struggles, including a 3-interception performance against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, resulting in a 45-3 defeat. Now, Pickett made his return 2 weeks ago against the Florida State Seminoles, going 21 of 27 for 210 yards, 127 of which to true freshman receiver Jordan Addison, who has truly been the star of the show for this Pittsburgh offense, leading in receiving yards and touchdowns with 611 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Now, Pickett looks to build on a successful senior campaign where he already has 1,600 yards passing, 8 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, over 130 yards on the ground, and 3 touchdowns. Look for the Pickett to Addison connection to be prevalent once again as the Panthers face a Virginia Tech secondary that has struggled to defend the pass all season. Guys?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. A healthy Kenny Pickett could be the difference maker on Saturday. Drew, let's pivot. Let's take a look at some ACC standings. Not a lot on the line for these 2 teams in terms of ACC championship games, but bragging rights, a winning season, there's something for these 2.
Yeah, there's definitely something on the line. Not a whole lot, you said it, in terms of the championship game aspect of it, but both teams have 3 games left down the stretch to finish up the season, and both sit at 4-4 right now. So if you look at the mathematical numbers of that, you got to win 2 in order to have a winning season. So you got to go 2 of 3 down the stretch here. Let's look at Virginia Tech's remaining schedules here for the rest of the year. First, we have Pitt, our game on Saturday. Then they have Clemson in Blacksburg at Lane Stadium, and then UVA in Blacksburg at Lane Stadium on December the 12th as well. So 2 home games to wrap up the season for Virginia Tech. But most importantly, to get off on that right foot is winning this game in Pittsburgh on Saturday.
On the other side, let's take a look at Pitt. They have their home game against Virginia Tech on Saturday. Then they go on the road to Atlanta. They play Georgia Tech, and on the road once again at Clemson. All right, we've got predictions coming up. Our own reporters, Evan Hughes and Ryan Wilkes.
As Ryan pointed out earlier in the show, Kenny Pickett looked really good 2 weeks ago in his first game back off of an injury. I think with Pitt having a week off last week and Pickett having another week to rest, I think this Pitt team comes in hungry, not just defensively, but offensively. I think that Pitt wins this one 31-28. I think Pickett does enough through the air to get Pittsburgh their 5th win of the season.
This is a toss-up between 2 4-4 teams, but I think the Panthers take this one 28-20 on the back of a successful performance from Kenny Pickett. Another big day from Jordan Addison, and the Hokies just struggle to find those defensive stops where they need them. I think the Panthers take this one and improve to 5-4 on the season.
Well, that will just about wrap it up for the 3304 Sports Kickoff Show. Kevin, a lot looming on Saturday for both of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Virginia Tech looking to avoid their 3rd straight loss. Drew, they haven't done that since 2018, so they're trying to get back into the win column.
Let's go ahead and look forward to kickoff. Kickoff set for 4 p.m. You can watch it live on the ACC network. I have the call with Ryan Wilkes for 3304 Sports. You can catch that coverage on YouTube on Sunday. The temperature is set for 54 degrees. It's going to be a calm, cool day in Pittsburgh. Going to be a great one for some college football. For everyone at 3304 Sports, thank you for watching. For Ryan, for Evan, for Kevin, I'm Drew. Thank you all for tuning in.